Right now, somewhere in the back of your mind, you know you're going to die. You've known it since childhood, and yet it doesn't feel completely real. Not the way hunger feels real, or pain or fear. Death exists as something you understand intellectually but struggle to experience emotionally. That gap isn't a flaw, and it isn't denial. It's one of the most sophisticated survival mechanisms your brain has ever developed. Your brain doesn't treat you the same way it treats everyone else. When you hear that a stranger has died, your mind processes it as information, a fact about the world. But when you try to imagine your own death, something unusual happens. Your brain quietly resists. It generates alternatives, possibilities, escape routes. It refuses to fully connect the idea of death with the idea of you. Scientists have observed this phenomenon directly. In 2019, researchers at Bar-Ilan University found that when people were shown death-related words next to a stranger's face, the brain recognized the connection. But when those same words appeared beside the participant's own face, the connection weakened dramatically. The brain treated the idea of its own death as something that didn't fit, something that simply failed to compute. On a neurological level, your brain actively resists linking death to yourself. Why would evolution create a system like that? Imagine waking up every morning feeling the full emotional weight of mortality. Imagine trying to work, build relationships, take risks, or plan for the future while constantly experiencing the certainty that everything will eventually end. The anxiety alone could become overwhelming. The humans who thrived weren't necessarily the ones who saw death most clearly. They were the ones who could keep moving despite knowing it was coming. Over countless generations, evolution favored minds capable of pushing mortality into the background so they could focus on survival, cooperation, and progress. In a very real sense, you are descended from people whose brains were designed to feel immortal enough to function. Psychologist Sheldon Solomon spent decades studying this idea. Alongside Jeff Greenberg and Tom Pyszczynski, he developed terror management theory. The theory proposes that humans are uniquely aware of their own mortality, and that awareness creates a level of existential anxiety that could become paralyzing if left unmanaged. To cope, the mind constructs psychological defenses. We create meaning, identities, belief systems, and cultural values that connect us to something larger than ourselves. Religion, nations, traditions, achievements, families, and even the desire to leave a legacy can all serve as ways of managing the fear of death. According to the theory, much of human culture is, at least partly, a response to the knowledge that our lives are finite. What's even more fascinating is how strongly mortality influences behavior. Study after study has shown that when people are subtly reminded of death, they become more protective of their beliefs, more loyal to their groups, and more defensive of their identities. A simple reminder of mortality can make people more certain of what they already believe and more resistant to opposing viewpoints, often without realizing why. Thoughts about death may shape far more of your daily decisions than you ever suspect. But the story gets stranger. Your brain doesn't reject death entirely. It accepts that you'll die someday. What it struggles with is the idea that death could happen soon. Mortality is mentally placed somewhere in the distant future, as if it belongs to another version of you, rather than the person sitting here right now. This psychological distance allows people to take risks, pursue goals, and continue moving forward. Without it, ordinary life could become impossible. Neuroscientist Antonio Damasio offered another piece of the puzzle through the concept of somatic markers, emotional signals built from past experiences. You know fire is dangerous because you felt pain. You know falling can hurt because you've experienced fear. But you've never experienced your own non-existence. There is no memory of being dead, no emotional reference point, no internal model. And that's where the paradox begins. You can think about death, but you can't truly imagine non-existence. Every attempt still includes an observer. Picture darkness and you're there observing it. Picture emptiness and you're still present within it. Picture nothingness and somehow you're still watching. The mind can imagine almost anything except its own absence. Long before modern neuroscience, Sigmund Freud noticed something similar. He argued that deep within the unconscious, every person carries a sense of immortality, not because they consciously believe they'll live forever, but because the unconscious mind doesn't naturally understand endings. It understands continuation. And so here you are, a creature intelligent enough to know it will die, yet built in a way that prevents it from fully believing it. Every day you make plans, build relationships, chase goals, and imagine the future because somewhere deep inside, your brain assumes you'll be there to see it. Not because you're irrational, not because you're naive, but because that's how the system works. This is also why the death of someone close can feel so shocking. It's not only grief, it's a rupture in the protective illusion. For a brief moment, the reality you've always known suddenly feels real in a way it never did before. But eventually, the system rebuilds itself. It has to. Otherwise, life would become unbearably heavy. And perhaps that's the most remarkable part of all. The awareness of death isn't just a burden. It's also the source of many of humanity's greatest achievements. Every monument, every masterpiece, every symphony, every library, and every attempt to leave something meaningful behind begins with the same realization. Our time is limited. The awareness of death drives us to create. The inability to fully believe in our own ending allows us to continue. So yes, you know you're going to die. You've always known it. But your brain has been quietly protecting you from the full emotional weight of that truth. Not because you're in denial, but because that gentle resistance may be the very thing that makes it possible to live, to hope, to build, and to keep moving forward despite knowing that one day everything ends. And perhaps that's one of the most extraordinary things about being human. If this video made you think, remember, your mortality is inevitable, but ignoring the like and subscribe button is still a choice. Unlike death, those are things you can avoid, but maybe don't.